So looks like we're live finally, and a very Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you had like a great one yesterday. I had a good one as well. Just chilled out, spent time with family and friends, a little bit of Christmas festivities, and yeah, a lot more, I guess. And I absolutely love this time of the year for more reasons than one. One, of course, you have Christmas and New Year, and so many reasons to celebrate. And New Year is always like time for new beginnings, right? So you sort of take a pause, sort of take a stock check of how things have been in the year that's gone by, and also set up for the new one. And one of the things that I have done start today, is to get out of my comfort zone. I just decided to do my life from here, which is like a new place, not really a new place, but a different setup, so to say, only because I am so comfortable doing it from where I normally do in the evenings. So this morning, when I just woke up and I saw, the daylight seeping in, and I just felt it was so beautiful. It's nice and wintry, and I can see the whole world outside. And I think, yeah, it's cool, right? So I'm loving it. So yeah, tell me how your day went yesterday. I'd love to hear more about it. But for now, I'm going to start off by talking about something which there's always a whole lot of debate around. Okay. So I think, whenever I ask people, have you made your New Year's resolutions? So there are two responses that I get. Either it's a yes, I've made it, but I'm sure I'm not going to be able to stick around to it. Or the other set of people who say that resolutions not my cup of tea. Even if you do end up making them, I'm sure they'll pretty much fall through the cracks somewhere. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to kind of spend that much time. Now, I, for one, have been making my resolutions for years now. I mean, I can't even remember when was the first time that I really started writing one. But I think I really started taking them seriously about a decade back. And they work like magic for me. Okay. And just really got me thinking about why is it that it actually works well for some people, and for some people, they don't. Okay. And there are some very interesting statistics to sort of validate for this whole theory of resolutions. Uh, so they say statistics have proved, or rather some research has actually proved that at the end of a week from the New Year's, 75% are still holding true to the resolutions that they've made. Okay. After about 2 weeks, that number comes down to about 70, 71%. Okay. A month down, it further drops down to 64%. So by the end of the first month, almost like roughly about 40 odd percent of people have already sort of faltered. Okay, they've gone off track as far as their resolutions are concerned. And you know what's the most surprising part? After 6 months, okay, half year down, there are only 4% people who are still holding true to their resolutions. So now my question to you is, are you amongst those 4%, or are you somebody who is the 96%? And would you want to be a part of that 4%, perhaps? You know, I think it's a decision that you got to take for yourself, because it's your life at the end of it, right? In the sense, I mean, if you have dreams, if you have goals, if you have things that you would want to do or change for that matter, there's no better time than now for you to actually sit down to doing it. Okay, not just listing it out, but also going on to actually getting it done. Okay. And again, this has been proven. Okay, there's this Journal of Clinical Psychology. Okay, and they had actually mentioned that people who actually write their New Year's resolutions are 10 times more likely to change their behavior, okay, or to make things happen, than people who don't even make those yearly goals. So I'm sure you have like more reasons than one to actually push yourself out of your comfort zone and get down to making your resolutions for 2022. Okay. So The focus of this conversation is going to be for those of you who are, who are keen on making sure that your resolutions actually happen, okay? Or it's not just something which gets limited to listing out your resolutions, but also to put in the right kind of efforts and interventions that can make your goals or make your resolutions actually see the light of the day, okay? So now, of course, it's a fresh start. You have an opportunity to change certain things that you feel need to be changed, or to probably build new habits, or learn some new things, okay? And grow and evolve as a person. That's what we human beings are supposed to be doing, okay? Now, of course, a lot of people say that, okay, yes, your goals need to be listed out, but I think one of the ground rule is that your goals or your resolutions, they have to be very, very specific. I'm sure we all have heard of, SMART goals, right? So they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, realistic, and of course, time bound, okay? Without which, of course, you would not be able to sort of keep a track of it either, okay? But I think what you also mean when you say that, okay, it needs to be specific is, like say, for example, a lot of us write, okay, my resolution is I want to exercise more, I want to lose weight, I want to quit smoking, I want to spend time with family and friends. Now, exercise more is one part of it, but exercise how much is what would make it a little more concrete. I want to exercise 30 minutes a day. Okay. I want to lose 10 kilos before the end of this year. Okay. Or in the next 6 months. Now, the minute you start putting some timelines and make it a little more precise, you exactly know what you're gunning for. Just to say that, okay, I want to learn how to play the guitar. No, I want to join, I want to learn how to play whatever, 5 songs on the guitar in the next 6 months or something like that. I'm just giving you an example that, the minute you kind of give it a timeline, give it a structure, it becomes more real to you than anything else. Now, speaking of being real, the next thing that you need to make sure is that you're keeping your goal, your resolutions real. At least it has to seem realistic to you. It has to be something which seems feasible, because your brain finds it a lot more easier to process something that it believes can happen, rather than to have like a magnanimous goal which seems so out of your league. Like, say for example, if I say that, oh, by through this year I want to become a millionaire, and maybe you're just making 20,000 rupees a year at this point. No, sorry, 20,000 rupees a month at this point in time. But saying that if you're making 20,000 rupees a month, which means that you're making 1.2 lakhs a year, you probably might want to say that, okay, fine, I want to increase my salary to say 5 lakhs a year. Or I want to kind of change my job, which gives, and pick up an offer which gives me at least 3 lakhs a year. So, I mean, keep it real, because it has to be like a stepwise thing. It's okay to be ambitious. It's okay to sort of have that drive in you to just go out and get everything that you ever wanted. Aim into that. Maybe you will kind of, get there. But then saying that, don't push yourself to create a resolution which does not seem realistic to you also. Okay. Now, what also happens is that, you basically, if you want your resolutions to be successful, I think you also need to make sure that you kind of draft it. You got to be smart. You got to trick your brain as well. Okay. And kind of, come up with a resolution which sounds feasible to you. Like, say for example, James Clear, one of my favorite authors, who wrote this book called Atomic Habits. Okay, there was this one bit of trivia that I had read about him, which basically said that, he, over the course of a year, okay, wrote over 100,000 words on his blog. Okay, now on an average, a book tends to be about 50,000 words. Okay, so technically he wrote over 100,000, which means about 2 books. Okay, But saying that, if he would have at the start of the year said, I want to publish 2 books in a year, it would have sounded like a crazy goal. Okay. But saying that, maybe he just kind of, wrote it that, okay, I want to write these many words in a day. Okay. Or probably said that, I want to kind of write a blog every day. Okay. And he just ended up doing something which sounds like a Herculean task to most of us. Okay. Now, that's what I meant when I said that, you got to make it more realistic to yourself. Okay. The third thing that you need to make sure is that you give it a direction. All right. Now, I have spoken about Earl Nightingale in the past. There is this one famous, very, very famous video of his. You can actually Google it up. It's there on YouTube as well. It's called Strangest Secret of the World. Okay. And it basically talks about manifesting a life of your own. Okay. And this is a very beautiful example that he's given in that, which basically says that, if you're sailing in a boat, okay, and if you do not know where you are headed towards, where would you end up being? Okay. At the end of it, you got to make sure that you know that you're going from point A to point B, right? So it's not like, okay, you can start off from point A and not know which direction you're heading towards, and then realize that, oh, you haven't gotten to point B. But that's because you haven't given it a direction at all. You haven't set your sail to reach your destination at all. Okay. And that's exactly what you need to do with your resolutions as well. You got to give it a direction. Okay. You also have to plan for contingencies. Like, say, for example, if you're sailing a boat, then you got to be prepared that, oh, what happens if a storm comes, or probably you lose course, or you lose track of where you are and stuff. How are you going to handle those eventualities? Okay. Or else, like, say, for example, if you decide that you want to go and hit the gym like 3 times a week, okay, but what happens is you have some some exigency, and you've kind of missed out 4 days in a week, okay, and what do you do in those scenarios when you go off course? How do you kind of get it back? So you got to think about everything. You got to give it a direction, say that, okay, this is where I want to get to, and also at the same time also be prepared that, okay, there could be some deviations here and there, and you will kind of how will you course correct in those predictable situations or scenarios. Okay. uh we human beings, we create like major goals, right? Big ones. Okay, we like to have big goals, but what happens is that if you really want to make your goals happen, if you want to make sure that you see that your resolutions actually come true, or they turn to reality, make sure that you cut them into smaller sub goals. I've spoken about big, hairy, audacious goals in the past. I mean, I think many sessions back. But while it's great to have like a big, hairy, audacious goal, you got to make sure that you're able to kind of cut that into smaller parts and make it chewable. Okay, so if you have like whole big roast turkey in front of you, you can't shove it all in your mouth at the same time. You got to break it into parts, right? And that's basically what it is. So like, say, let me give you an example. If you think that you want to run a marathon, okay, you can't run a marathon overnight. If you want to get thin, you can't get thin overnight. You can't change your job overnight. I mean, unless you're like really lucky. So basically, if you have an intent that you want to lose 20 kilos in a year, what you would need to do is you need to break it down into smaller parts and say that, okay, fine, I want to exercise. I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes, 5 times a week. Okay. Or I'm going to do intermittent fasting 5 days a week. All right. Maybe you want to become a YouTube influencer with 10,000 followers. Okay. What you got to do is you got to firstly start making one YouTube video per week. You want to learn how to do YouTube marketing. So what are those consequential steps that will take you to that end result? Is what you need to kind of start working on. So in fact, when you are listing out your resolutions, also write against those resolutions your sub steps, so that it becomes a lot more easy for you to understand as to how is it and what is it that's going to take you there. Okay. The next thing that you need to do is to build the right kind of habits around your resolutions. Okay. Every resolution involves change. Okay, you got to change either the way you approach things, or you got to change a habit, or you got to change the way you think about something. So it's all about, whether it is about your thought process or it is about bringing in a new action into your routine, you have to make sure that you're constantly aligned with what your goals are. Okay, if your resolution is X but your habits say it otherwise, like say for example, if your resolution is that I'm not going to smoke this year, okay, but you're constantly surrounding your environment with things that will take you away from it. Like say for example, you're going out and most of your friends are like smokers, okay, gets to be difficult for you. So I would again go back to James Clear and say that, pick up that book, Atomic Habits, or there is this other book called, I can't remember the name, by Charles Duhigg. He's again somebody who's like an expert as far as habits are concerned, and you would really understand how easy it is to actually build habits. We just kind of complicate it. I mean, think about it. From the time that you were a child, you have literally built like hundreds and thousands of habits, right? So today, do you really have to consciously push yourself into the washroom to brush your teeth during your, as soon as you wake up in the morning? No, that doesn't happen, because you know that, it's an ingrained habit. So you wake up in the morning and by default, it kind of, takes you, you go to the washroom, brush your teeth, and you come out. For people who are used to gymming, for them, it comes as a default, okay? Or else the time at which you sleep off. By the time you're supposed to sleep off, you start feeling sleepy, right? No, those are all habits that you have built. So if you could build so many habits in this lifetime, why can't you build a few more? Okay, so understand this. For any new habit to come in, repetition is extremely important. Some say 21 days, some say 7 days, but whatever it is, I think it all starts in your mind. That's what I believe in. Even if for some they could spend 21 days, but they could just be waiting, oh my god, I'm going to finish 21 days and I'll know that, oh, it's become a habit. No, it's not like that. You just got to allow yourself that whole that whole joy of bringing in that new habit, because it is going to take you to a result that you've been striving for. Okay, so please do make sure that you make a conscious effort to build those habits which can take you closer to your destination, rather than to just go with the flow and make a resolution and let it lie the way it is. Okay, your subconscious. I think that's basically a conversation for another day. I love speaking about brain science and how your subconscious works and how you can make things happen. But yeah, I think that'll probably stretch this conversation a little too long. Okay, the next thing is that, you got to stop giving yourself stories. Okay, like say, for example, somebody saying, oh, I'm a big foodie, I can never give up on food. I am a late night person, I can never wake up early. I used to do that, by the way, guilty as charged, because I remember for a good part of my life, I was a late night person. I would never sleep before 1:30 in the night. Okay. And every time someone would say that, hey, you know what, you should actually wake up in the morning. I really wanted to wake up in the morning. Okay. I was keen on changing my pattern, because I knew that there was a lot more that I could get done if I were to just wake up like a couple of hours sooner than I did. Okay. But for as long as I remember, I just kept telling myself that, oh, I'm a late night person, I can't wake up early. Okay. But you know what? It's been 2 years now, and I've changed that pattern. I've changed that pattern because I consciously started. So I actually started doing this, that, so earlier I used to sleep at like 1:30 and wake up at about 8 o'clock in the morning. I started waking up 15 minutes earlier for a week, then 15 minutes earlier than that the next week. Slowly doing that, I actually came to a stage now, again, I'm back to waking up at 6:30, but then saying that there was actually a time when I was even waking up at 5:30 in the morning. Okay. And it was nice. I mean, I loved what that time did for me. I mean, there was so much of productivity, you're like highly charged up. The morning aura is different altogether, right? You feel a lot more creative, energetic, enthusiastic and stuff. And I'm not saying that it was easy, but then saying that, I did not like push myself, overnight. It was a gradual process. And I, of course, took care of my inner beliefs, okay? Because we are storytellers, okay? We basically tell stories. And you know what? The biggest storyteller that you can ever be is about yourself, okay? You have a notion of yourself which you're not willing to let go of because you start identifying with it. Okay, but if that story is not supporting you, then I think it's about time that you actually let go of it. Okay, because it's not kind of adding any value to you. All right, so you got to actually do something which is called story editing. I mean, there's this book called Redirect. You can read it sometime. It's basically about how you can change your behavior over a period of time. Okay, so it basically, there is this aspect of story editing which is there, where you're asked to write a story as is, okay, about what your beliefs about yourself are. And after that, you read through it again and try and figure out which parts of that story go against the resolution that you are looking at bringing into your life. Okay, and then tweak those and rewrite that story, write a new self story, and just exactly how you would want the story to be. Okay, and see the change starting to set in, because you're somewhere telling your subconscious that this is who I am, not what you have believed for all of your life. Okay, and that's how it is. Now, speaking of storytelling, a lot of us live our past even today. When I say live in the past, what I meant is that if you have consistently for the last 5 years, 6 years, failed in terms of sticking to a particular resolution, you sort of think that that's who you are, that's your identity, and that you cannot stick to a resolution. If you haven't lost weight in the last 5 years, you would still start believe that, oh, that's how I am and that's who I am. I can't change. All right. But trust me, you're not your past. If you've consistently failed at a particular resolution in the past, instead of turning it into your identity, you should really sit with yourself and try and evaluate as to why did those previous instances did your resolutions not happen. Where is it that you really went wrong? What can you do better this time? And how is it that you can make things happen? So basically, you're not supposed to change your resolution. You got to change your approach path. If you're getting to a point B and you realize that there's a roadblock somewhere, what do? Do you just stand there and wait and say that, oh, this road is closed forever? No, you don't do that. You basically try and find an alternate path, right? You got to do the same thing with your resolutions as well. Okay. Now, the next one is kind of crucial, and you really need to kind of think about who you would want in this place, because I'm talking about having an accountability partner. A lot of times it makes a huge difference if you have someone who's kind of pushing you towards your goals. Okay, like say in my case, my sister does that for me. Okay, so she's more like, she knows what I want to do, where I want to be, what are the things that I want to achieve. So more often than not, she's the first one who gets to know when I have something that I'm like building up, or I have something that I'm doing which is aligned with my resolutions. And she makes it a point to kind of hold me, get me to deliver it or do it. So in that sense, she's my accountability partner. Likewise, I've spoken about this earlier as well. I'm not essentially someone who enjoys working out and stuff. I know it's not a great thing to say. I don't feel proud about it. But the good part is I have her with me, to sort of shake me out of my sleep every morning and, ask me to just get out and, okay, let's just go for a walk, or let's exercise, let's dance, let's do something or the other. So just to have her, one, of course, she kind of, pushes me. Secondly, because I'm doing it with her, I kind of feel a lot more motivated than I would had I been doing it all by myself. Okay. So that motivation bit is like extremely important. It's not just about getting motivated because you have someone around, but for every resolution that you're taking, if you have a very strong why, it can keep you on track. Okay. When I say a why, what I meant is that why do you want to be that? Okay, so speaking of health, or slimming down, because I think that's one thing which is there in in a lot of people's resolution list. Okay, for some it could be because they want to fit into a dress, okay, or a set of dresses. For some it could be that they want to feel healthier. For some it could be that they basically want to go hiking. Whatever it be, okay, your why has to be strong enough to drive you to get there. Okay, in certain cases, you can visually get yourself motivated. Like, say for example, I spoke of that dress that somebody wants to fit into. Keep that dress in front of you, in the sense somewhere in your room, or probably take a picture, or maybe if you have an older picture of yours in that particular dress, maybe you can put it somewhere where you will be able to see it, because when you look at it, it's sort of a reminder to you. So you can actually have like a visual board which basically takes you, like, say for example, if in your resolution you have, I want to travel to 5 places, figure out which those 5 places are, and maybe you can just park those names or maybe some pictures from there, out there on that vision board. So a vision board is basically nothing but something which kind of infuses that motivation in you and gives you that clarity of where you want to be. That's basically what it is. Otherwise, what happens is that it becomes very difficult. So imagine you've come back late from work the last night, okay, and your resolution is that you have to hit the gym every day, except for weekends. But the last night has been like really tiring. You were out, and you were at work, and by the time you come back, you're like really late. What is it that is going to motivate you enough to still wake up at 6 o'clock the next day morning and get to the gym? Okay, and that's exactly what I meant by having those doses of motivation, giving yourself the reasons, the why, which is big enough for you to actually push yourself out of your comfort zone and get to doing what you need to do to get there. Okay. um okay, now I've seen resolution lists which go pages and pages long. Okay, trust my word for it, you'll not even get halfway through if you have like a 4-page long resolution list. Okay, keep it concise. See if you can club 2 or 3 resolutions together, so that you do the bigger one and automatically there are smaller bits of it that happen on their own. So basically, don't spread yourself too thin. Try and have like 5 or 6 major ones. In fact, they say that sometimes just one at a time is good, but then I know how difficult it is to just pick one. So maybe under each of your categories, whether it is your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, your personal goals, your spiritual goals, you have your what do you call philanthropy goals, whatever goals that you have. Okay, just make sure that you have just one broad one under each of these aspects rather than to have 10 under each. Okay, and I think that kind of eases out your brain as well. Your brain is not like flustered, oh my god, there's so much that I need to do. Okay, and you're able to focus your energies much better. Okay, so taking up too much can become very, very daunting, and more so, all the more difficult, because what happens is that, as I said, everything finally boils down to changing something, either a behavioral pattern or else a thought process. And if you have far too many things, you will end up getting confused about what is it that you're supposed to focus on. Okay, and as far as possible, try and pick up the low hanging fruits first. When I say low hanging fruits, what I mean is the easier ones, try and get them done sooner. Why? Because it gives you an achiever's high. Okay, so when you are able to achieve something, you start feeling more confident about yourself. Okay, now all said and done, you got to take your pauses. Okay, like it is in an organization, where an organization which has certain goals, you kind of stop in between, take a stock check, recalibrate if needed, evaluate if your priorities have changed over the years. Okay, or over the whole year. Like, say, for people last year who had travel listed in their resolutions, that, oh, I'm going to travel to 5 places. The pandemic came and hit, right? So all your travel plans went for a toss. Okay, so that's what. So you basically need to appropriately take pauses, calibrate whether you're on the right track. Do you need to course correct somewhere? If required, if you have to kind of, take, do a reset. All right. So that is an important part of the process, because you can't be spending the entire year, reach the end of the year, and then look back at the resolutions that you made and say that, hey, you know what, I didn't get to even half of them. Okay. So that's where that taking that pause is important. You're also kind of giving yourself a breather. All right. Uh, Now, last but not the least, I would strongly recommend keeping a journal. Okay. What a journal does is that you're able to sort of write in everything out there, right from your achievements, your milestones, to the things that you've struggled with and your resolutions. A lot of times you're kind of just listing out what's coming to your mind out there, and, keeping uh, things right out there. So for you to kind of, analyze. And a lot of times when you write in black and white, it actually sort of registers a lot better in your head as well. Okay, so try and maintain a journal, and yes, don't forget to reward yourself for achieving the smallest of the milestones. It could be a small gift, or it could just be, okay, I'm going to go, I've kind of, done this for a whole month. I'm going to give myself a cheat day, or probably I'll go and get myself a spa. Okay. So make sure that you're rewarding yourself for the milestones that you're achieving. Of course, the bigger milestones, bigger celebrations, of course, but then saying that, don't forget, it's still going to take a while before you get to that big milestone. So please enjoy the journey. Okay, the destination will come to you any which ways, but I think the journey is more important. And in the journey, if you're able to keep yourself pepped up and motivated, there's a higher chance that you're going to be amongst the 4% of people who actually go on to see their resolutions actually happen. Okay, how cool can that be, right? So, well, that's pretty much it for today, for this morning. And I'm going to see you again. Yes, this month I've been a little random, very consciously. I mean, of course, the contest that I was participating in took a lot of my time. But besides that, we've had like a family emergency that kept me away. And somewhere I just wanted to take a breather during this festive season. So yes, but yeah, be prepared, because 2022 is definitely going to be like super exciting. Just for your information, I've been working on my Clubhouse channel as well. And Inspired Living Community will have its own Clubhouse channel in 2022, January. I'm going to kind of announce the dates. And there's a lot more happening as well, which I don't want to kind of talk about right now. But yeah, in due course of time, I will. But yes, definitely there's a lot of action. And my sister, I think I'd shared this in the past as well, that my sister is the one who actually orders in my diary, my journal for the year. So that's coming in anytime now. So I'm taking time off from work in the first week of January. And that's the time that I actually sit and sort of put my mind and my thoughts together for what the year needs to look for me and stuff. Okay, and I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, tell me what's up for you with you guys. What plans for the New Year's? Tell me about it. And yes, I'm going to see you again soon. Today is the 26th. I'm going to see you one more time for a short conversation just before the year comes to an end. But otherwise, 2022 is when we're going to sit and talk about a whole lot of things. Okay, so latch on, stay tuned, and I'll see you again soon. Happy New Year once again in advance.